Hey, it's Kirby Myers, and you're listening to Behind the Blonde. Thanks for joining me. So, this is a podcast for anyone who's been in the opposite place of where they want to be. When we left off last week, I had met with my now husband, Britt Myers, who is the publisher of our local newspaper here. And I had presented him with this piece that I had written in my phone about my desperation of drinking too much and feeling depressed and anxious and pretending like I had it all on the outside when I was really crumbling on the inside. Little did I know that that meeting would rock my fucking world. It was the most overwhelming and right feeling I've ever had in my life. I walked away and just knew that I had to be around this person. It was like I had met my absolute best friend. I felt like I had known for lifetimes. So my husband knew that I had some regular meetings set up with him as I was now writing for his paper. So 3 weeks after that meeting, I knew that it was going in a direction where I was going to cross a line. So I came home one evening, actually from a fundraiser where Britt and I attended together. He had invited me. At this point, we were definitely pushing the boundary. And he dropped me off at home that night. And my husband came to the back door. And he had been away on a business trip. And he came home early. And I went inside and we sat down on the porch. And I looked at him and I said, I have been having an emotional affair, and I know that I need to explore this further than that. I have not slept with him, but I can't lie to you about where I know this is going to go. And I took my ring off and I put it down on the coffee table. And we had a third floor at the house, and I went upstairs and I moved into that bedroom, and that was pretty much that. That was February 28th of 2019. Britt and I could not stay away from each other. It was pure magic. All of a sudden, drinking became fun again. Britt had been single for like 4 years. He was divorced. He had a son. And then we got together and it was like, just fireworks. It wasn't even a question of whether we were going to be together or if we loved each other. I've never experienced anything like it in my life, but I can promise any of you out there that have doubts, soulmates 1,000,000% exist, and they will show up at the strangest time and it will knock your fucking socks off. So all of a sudden I found myself negotiating time with my husband. We were splitting time at the house. He knew that I was dating Britt. I don't think he thought it was really real at the time that I really was going to leave. Looking back, I definitely have regrets about the way I went about it. I had been so depressed that when I did meet this love of my life, I could have been more considerate about how public we were. We could have been more low-key. I was constantly on his arm at fundraisers, getting dressed up, and all of the drinking that went with it. And all of a sudden, I told myself that I was having a good time drinking again. I didn't have my kids full-time, even though we were still married for a little while. Our divorce actually became final pretty quickly. We did mediation, and we finalized everything within about 11 hours in August. Again, that was February 28th when I took my ring off. So pretty quickly, our divorce was final, and Britt and I eloped in October after that. So essentially, my life was just swapped. I just went from one life to another, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't because I went crazy like everybody thought. It wasn't because I needed somebody else to latch on to because I was getting out of one marriage. 7 years later, this is my fucking person. This is my world. And we still go through the depths of it all. But when you meet the right person, there's never a question of whether you're going to come out the other side. And you always come out stronger. So we have continued to come out stronger and stronger and stronger. And one of the biggest things we came out stronger for was my decision to quit drinking. So before, when I had my children, and I would drink in the evenings. I kind of justified it because the kids were going to bed. I'd have the baby monitor next to me. I mean, looking back on it, if something had ever happened in the middle of the night and I was, inebriated on the porch, if I needed to drive them to the hospital, I would have had to call somebody. I would have had to call 911 to come, to the house if they woke up with some crazy fever. I look back on that and I just can't believe how unbelievably lucky I am that nothing terrible ever happened. But then I didn't have them every weekend. So I was never a day drinker. And then all of a sudden, I was going to brunch and drinking during the day and hanging out with friends. And I thought it was just all fun and games. But I was putting on a Band-Aid because I was in so much pain again, but for completely different reasons. Because in choosing myself, in choosing leaving a marriage, but then not having the kids every weekend, it was a level of pain I'd never experienced before. So the drinking became something that was masking this unbelievable wound of feeling like I was missing a part of my body when they were gone. So the way to handle that was by getting pretty messed up when they weren't with me. And then the nights that they were with me, because I was completely dependent on alcohol at that point, I would still drink in the evenings. And on those weekends when I was with Britt and we were with friends, everybody would party pretty hard, but same thing. Britt would go to bed and I would find myself out on the porch having a few more. So I was back in my knowing pretty quickly, knowing that even though now the drinking seemed fun on the outside and I looked like I was having a great time again and I was in love, I was still so sick underneath it all. And I needed to help myself and I needed to figure out how to do that. And I woke up one morning, it was September 1st of 2020. And something happened. Something just snapped in me. I woke up and said, I'm done. I'm just done. And I had mentioned to Britt before that I'd thought about this, but I don't know how serious he really thought I was. I think he knew that I drank more than I should, but everybody kind of drank. And it was how much vodka I was pouring in my drink, how many drinks I was still sneaking at the end of the night, combined with smoking cigarettes. It was vile. And I would look at my children and I would think to myself, they are still so young. If I do this now, they're not going to remember mommy drinking. And I don't hide it from them. I'm very open, obviously, about everything that I've gone through, but I never wanted them to get to the point where they grew up old enough and just saw mommy having a drink in her hand every night and thinking that that was normal and then perpetuating that cycle for my kids. That was the biggest reason, other than wanting to feel better for myself, because of course we all know basics 101 on self-help is you have to do it for you. But when you have kids, that's a pretty good fucking motivator. And I love my kids more than life itself. So I woke up that morning and I went cold turkey, alcohol and cigarettes, and I knew they had to go together. They were like peanut butter and jelly for me. One did not go without the other. I read and I really dove into the science behind alcohol and how it rewires your brain and how it gives you the dopamine hit to feel really good after that first or second drink, and then it crashes. So you're trying to get back to that, but you don't. Why it gives you anxiety, why it makes you feel down, depressed. This Naked Mind by Annie Grace was a really good book that I recommend to anybody that is dabbling with it. I think that learning how the chemical really works and understanding that it really is a poison that we're putting in our bodies, it kind of makes you think, oof, I don't want to touch that again. I can't believe that I've been putting this in my body. It makes you just think about it in a completely different light than you ever have. I just got through the day. But the nights were tough. But I found myself pretty quickly falling asleep really early. So I would pass out around 9 o'clock. Like my eyes would just close on me. But my husband was still partying with friends from time to time. He wasn't sitting alone drinking on a porch like I was. But he would still have a few too many drinks when we would have an event. And that was really hard for me. And I was too damn proud to tell him that I just needed to stop him drinking. And he would ask me, and I was like, no, no, no. But it wasn't like he was having a beer or two. It was like we would go to a party and with everybody else, he would push it. And then I could see the difference in his just eyes or the way he was talking. And all of a sudden you're super clear and you don't want the person that you love more than anything else to maybe slur their words a little bit or their eyes to close a little bit. You want the version of them that you are seeing before that happens. But how freaking crazy for him, because we'd had this entire world that I was completely a part of. And then I just said, nope, no more. And he was expected to follow suit without being told to follow suit, because I really was kind of playing these games, but not realizing I was just wanting him to go and do it without asking him to. And it was a shit show. I mean, if I've said this before and I'll say this again, if anything could have broken us up, it would have been that. It took us to the depths. And so December 12th, 112 days after I quit drinking, I'll never forget, I came home one day from the shop and he had some friends over watching football and they had all been drinking. And I was just tired. I was really, really tired. I felt like I love this man more than anything in the world. I don't really know how to exist here in Key West without drinking, to fit into the social scene without drinking. And so I said, screw it. And I went and bought a pack of cigarettes because I knew that if I was going to have a drink that I needed my cigarettes, and I hadn't smoked any pot either. And that night I just got completely obliterated. I drank, I smoked pot, I smoked cigarettes, and that was it. For the next 4 months, when I did not have my kids, I think I was looking back on it, subconsciously taking it so far, because I knew that when I decided to quit again, that there was no turning back. So I had to get so disgusted with myself that I had to be done. And let me tell you, I was so disgusted with myself. And on April 25th of 2021, I quit for good. And I would read all sorts of books by women that were in similar kind of lifestyles, whether they were mothers, they had businesses, they had, families, people that, from the outside looking in didn't seem like they had some crazy problem, but they really did, and they had been struggling. So things that I could really relate to, I found that was the most helpful to me in reading, and then writing down how I was feeling almost every single day. They call it a pink cloud that you can hit, where you get these really high highs where you feel like you're floating. You go back to this childlike feeling of luster and wonder and just having zest for life again. And one of my girlfriends told me how one day after she got sober, she walked outside and the sky was a little bit brighter. And I remember that happening for me one day. I remember walking down the street and the colors were just more vibrant and more beautiful. And those little moments were the moments that kept me going. I have a really good friend, Lindsay, who I attribute to really helping me. Lindsay was somebody that had been sober for a long time. So Lindsay is the person that I would call when I would go on long walks. Walks saved me. I had to get fresh air. I had to just walk through it. And I would walk and walk and walk in the dark. And I would message Lindsay or I would call Lindsay. If you don't work a program, if you don't go to rehab, if you can find one person that you can lean on, that you can call, that there's no qualms, there's no judgment, there's nothing but just love, that can save you. And she saved me. So Lindsay, I love you so much. Thank you. I had to become really antisocial. I mean, I just had to really remove myself from most situations. And in turn, I lost a lot of people. You will lose people when you stop drinking, but you won't lose friends. You will lose people, but you will not lose friends. Because those people that you no longer associate with, that used to hang out with all the time, you realize they were just drinking buddies. And when you take that away, you really didn't have anything else in common. And that doesn't make them bad people. I look back and I have some really fun memories, some really fun, awesome people that I used to drink with, but If drinking wasn't a part of the equation anymore, I couldn't be around them if that was their lifestyle. I realized that for me, if I'm around excessive drinking now, it makes me physically very uncomfortable. I just don't like it. I set that boundary with myself, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Another one of my favorite sayings is that no is a complete sentence, and you don't have to give a reason why you need to leave. I used to always have to make excuses for everything. This is my personal boundary. Britt, it took a little while, and eventually he got on board and he started to drink less and less and less. And now, flash forward, he really doesn't hardly drink at all. We don't have any alcohol in the house. And he just agrees that when we look back at the lifestyle before, we can't even imagine. I mean, physically, I literally can't imagine having a hangover. Like the thought of having a hangover, I'm just like, oh, my entire body. But again, it was the mental motivation for me, the anxiety, wanting to be that best version of myself possible. So I would look at my children and I would think about the things and the goals that I wanted in my life and for my future and what I could accomplish and how I could show up in this world and the impact that I could make. And that's what kept me going every single day. I somehow made it, and I will be 5 years alcohol and nicotine free come April. And as I mentioned a couple months ago, I removed pot completely, which I actually feel like was the final piece of the puzzle for me. I didn't smoke pot at all for about the first 6 months, and then I slowly reintroduced it. To be honest, I felt like I deserved something. And if I was going to have something, it should be something that's plant-based and that they, prescribe to cancer patients. But looking back again, like I had to train myself to get stoned because marijuana was always in conjunction with alcohol. I never was a just pot smoker. So when I reintroduced it, I would kind of have anxiety. I would feel weird, but then I pushed through it. I mean, here is my still addictive behavior still coming through. I'm like, no, I will smoke pot. I can do this. I can normalize this. And eventually I did. And I enjoyed it from time to time. And lo and behold, after years of smoking pot here and there, I found myself night after night getting high. And all of a sudden waking up one day a few months ago and going, holy fucking shit, Kirby, you're now addicted to pot. Like you have to smoke every night. You want to smoke every night. And you're not doing it anymore just for fun. And I rationalized it for so long because smoking some pot versus getting drunk, you're not acting like an asshole. And I'm not here to bash pot, by the way. I think that there's a lot of people that use it, that it's great. And it can be used for a lot of different things. But again, I am an addict. So I'm going to abuse whatever it is. As the years went by, my life was getting busier. It was getting better and more full. My business was starting to grow. I had taken on more philanthropy work in town. I had started working with a dance company. So I had a lot of balls in my court. So I felt like my days were so go, 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 go that at the end of the night, it was like I deserved to come home and smoke a bowl. And I had been questioning it for a while. I was in the knowing. Again, there I was knowing probably for the last year. I mean, if you asked a handful of my girlfriends, I would say to them, I think I need to smoke, quit smoking pot. And a lot of my friends smoke, and they would always just be like, well, Kirby, you don't need to smoke the whole joint. Just have a couple puffs. And I'm like, that's like telling me to just have the glass of wine. I'm not programmed like that. I wish I was programmed like that, but I'm not. So same kind of thing. I woke up one day and just said, I'm done. I have to be done. I wrote an affirmation on my mirror and I said, I choose my health, my kids, and abundance. And those were my reasons for stopping smoking. And the first week that I quit smoking was insane. I was bawling, crying. I mean, bawling, crying every day. I didn't realize how many emotions I'd been repressing in the evening. I had been mad at the world with everything going on, just, humanity-wise. And I think I was using that as an escape. So I just released all that. It was the missing piece of the puzzle for me to remove pot and become 100% clear. I can truly say I am sober and I feel like a fucking rock star. And I can say that with confidence. I feel like a super woman. It's given me a sense of freedom that is so unbelievably beautiful. I feel too damn good to go back to it. And it is this knowing of this feeling that I have of loving myself and this version of me that doesn't need anything else to feel fabulous, that knows that I'm not going to go there again. So just remember that if you know it, if you feel it, honor it, sit with it, listen to your body at all times. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to stay home from the party. Set those boundaries, feel it, know it, honor it. And remember, you can flip the script. It takes time. It takes choices. And some of them are really small and some of them are really big. And some of them are easier and some of them are really, really hard. But it is those choices, day by day, year by year, that start to get you to the place that you want to be. And we can get to those places, choice by choice. So believe in yourself, love yourself, choose yourself. And remember, no matter what it is, because all of our struggles look different. And I just hope that my struggles help you feel a little bit less alone. But you can get to the place that you want to be. So if you know that's where you want to go, let's get there. Thanks for listening to Behind the Blonde.